Hello, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America, featuring today's top directors sharing behind-the-scenes stories of their latest films and insights into the craft of directing. Please take a second to subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. This episode takes us behind the scenes of director Amy Poehler's new comedy, Wine Country. The film tells the story of 6 longtime friends who take a scenic Napa getaway to relax and reconnect during a 50th birthday celebration. But when the alcohol flows, tensions from the past boil over, and the women begin questioning their friendships and futures. Wine Country is Ms. Poehler's feature film directorial debut. Her other directing credits include episodes of the series Parks and Recreation and Broad City. Following a recent screening of the film at the Harmony Gold Theater in Los Angeles, Ms. Poehler spoke with director Nisha Ganatra about filming Wine Country. During their conversation, Ms. Poehler discusses the challenge of pacing the character arcs of an ensemble comedy, her system of keeping track of how drunk each character needed to be in a given scene, and her love of taking away things to make them funnier in the edit.
Hello. Thank you for coming on this Memorial Day Sunday.
I know. It was great. I sat in the back and everybody was laughing at every moment, which is always good for a comedy.
Well, thank you very much.
Amy Poehler, everyone you've directed before, right? You've directed
This is
Parks
my
and
first
Rec?
feature. Yeah,
First
I've
feature.
directed a good amount of episodic, but yeah. Nisha Ganatra, everyone, whose film is coming out, Late Night is coming out in 2 weeks.
Aw, thanks, Amy. I have been such a big fan of Amy's for so long and always asked, what can she not do? And then I saw this and was like, okay, she can do everything. It's official now. But I'm sure everybody has so many questions, but I wanted to ask you about just directing. I know I've read so much about the movie and your friends and all of this, but what was your biggest challenge directing this movie?
Honestly, the biggest challenge was logistically getting everybody to do it.
Yeah.
Truly getting everybody available for it. And then once we were on set, it was reminding all of the women in the film that they're in it for the whole time. Yeah. If that makes any sense, because a lot of the women are such assassins in this movie, and they kind of come in and score in other people's movies. They work a couple of days. They just go really hard. They give a bunch of alts, and they're really, really funny. Yeah. And all of the characters in this film have an arc that lasts through the whole film. So it was almost like pacing everybody, pacing the day and the performances, and making everybody comfortable with not being funny all the time. Because all of the women that you see in this film are really funny all of the time in life. And so it was sometimes the painful decision of having to tell them to stop being funny. That's good for a comedy, right?
Too funny. When you had them all, I mean, you didn't make it easy on yourself. Every scene had at least 5 people in it. So the blocking.
Yeah, blocking was a bitch, and
yes.
I'm looking forward to not doing that again.
Just 2 people from now on.
Yep. There were so many where it was like, well, I guess they could walk. It was. We did a lot of camera blocking. We didn't do any rehearsal, but I'm not a big fan of rehearsal. I don't know about you. No, you like rehearsal a lot. I think it comes from my acting days where I'm just like, ugh, like rehearsal for films was like, oh no, I hated it. But it can be really helpful for sure. But these women, just because I don't like doing it or not do it doesn't mean it's not helpful. But these women know each other so well that we didn't have any chemistry problems. Yes. But we did block with stand-ins and tried to figure out how to get everybody, covered.
It's hard with that many people, and you don't want to cover every single person, and you don't want to do a million close-ups, but you also need everyone to move. But as soon as they move, you're like, oh God, that's another shot.
Yeah, I just read this. Did you guys read that Joanna Hogg article in the New Yorker? No big deal. I read the New Yorker. No, but anyway, she's this filmmaker. She has this film out right now called Thank you, souvenir. And anyway, it was talking about how she shoots everything really wide, almost like a painting. I haven't seen the film yet. I hear it's terrific. And then I was like, I should have just done that.
Just one wide shot across the whole room.
I should have said I shot it like a painting, and I should have just backed the camera way up. Would have saved a lot of time.
But how do you, okay, so when you have this cast who is everyone's so funny all the time, and then you want to be in the editing room and have choices, what do you do when do you decide, how do you say cut when everybody's being so funny all the time?
Oh, it's funny. I don't love saying action and cut in general because I think it freezes people up. So I roll a lot without people knowing that we're rolling.
Oh, nice.
And I have a DP who we kind of get a secret code together early on to do that, because the beginnings and endings of scenes are always can be very special. But I tended to let people go for a while, but there's been a trend, I know you guys are well aware of this, in comedy in maybe the past 10 or 15 years, of which I've been a part of as an actor, where there's been a kind of you kind of stand there and then alts are just kind of yelled at you.
Yeah.
And then you say them over and over again so you get the best joke. And we did that, and I've done that for a very long time, and I got a little tired of doing that as a performer, and then I didn't want to quite make that choice as a director. So I think sometimes in films you can tell, and it doesn't mean that the jokes aren't funny, but you can tell they're probably the 15th or 20th try. And I had an experience on a film where that was happening, where I was with another actor and these alternate jokes, pitches were being yelled at us. And I remember going, who should say this? And they were like, either one of you. And I remember thinking like, I've not done my job here to differentiate my character from somebody else's if both of us can say this joke.
Yeah.
So we didn't do a lot of that on
You
the
did
film.
that beautifully on this one with that many people, and really every single person was so differentiated, had such a clear arc, came from somewhere, ended somewhere.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was
Paula Pell's character, Val, is the jokester. So that was really fun, as we thought a lot about what Val would say, because she would make a lot of jokes. She was fun to write for.
Didn't do alts then? You didn't say
we
how about this?
we did. We did this thing that's not anything new, but that we call a fun run, where we get the scene as scripted, and then we just kind of fool around and loosen it up as at the end, and people who have been dying to say their thing says it. We like to say longer and less funny is how we like to do it at the end. But no, we didn't do a ton of alts for jokes, and we didn't kind of shoot single coverage and just kind of like see how many jokes you could come up with. We were all a little tired of doing that, I think. We've done it in a lot of other films.
Well, I think it's hard on and having directed you. I know in the other room people say, well, Amy will just make up something funny. And I'm always like, well, it's not really fair to make the actor write the scene as well as
Well, it used to be, I used to love that. When I was coming up, to improvise meant I would do a good job, and it meant people could find out maybe I could do other things, and I felt control, and I loved it. And now that I'm older and much more tired, it is kind of what used to be the best thing, which is you can do whatever you want, is now like, okay, what do you want me to do? Because not only does it take a lot of energy, but I'm just so drawn now to people who have an idea of what they want in all aspects of life. So yeah, I had a friend pitch me an idea for a film, and the things he listed would have been the things that 10, 15, 20 years ago I would have been jumped at the chance. And at this one I was like, he was like, all improvised. 4 months in Italy. And I was like,
because all you're hearing is, I have to write the
complete control. You can have all your friends. I was like, oh God. This sounds terrible.
So this one though, like as directing, you chose this movie for your first feature, and it's how did you come upon, just thinking of the scouting, the prepping, how much prep did you have? You had to pick a house that a lot of the movie took place in. What were you thinking about when you picked this house? Why?
I made a mistake in that I underestimated how noisy, we shot it in LA, and I underestimated how noisy it was here. There's so many planes. The owners of that house were so wonderful, and we really took it over. And
where was it?
It was in, great question. It was in Studio City, basically. Okay. Yeah. And we had to kind of change their landscaping a little bit because it was a little too LA rather than Northern California. And the light in Los Angeles is really bright. Yeah. And that is, I remember from shooting in Parks and Rec, it was so hard to make it look like Indiana sometimes because there's just nothing like the light here, except for today. But but yeah, sound was an issue that if I was to do over again, I would think more intently or seriously on, because it sometimes screwed up our momentum. But then we spent a couple weeks in wine country and in Northern California and in Calistoga and Napa and the Napa Valley region.
Can I ask you a nerdy question about the sound?
Yeah.
So when you have people singing, and there was a lot of singing in the movie, did you pre-record? Did you sing live? How did you deal with that?
Sang everything live.
Okay.
Yeah. Maya sang everything live in that scene. We really made it up on the spot, a lot of that stuff. We break into song a lot.
Yes.
In real life. So we thought that they were constantly going to be singing, and there's a moment where the great Cherry Jones, in a very grouchy way, asks us, like, what are you, a singing group? And that happened in real life. We had our tarot card reader was a real person who gave us really bad readings and then asked us if we were a singing group. She was so irritated with us. I wish I could show you. I have an actual picture of us listening to the tarot card reader, and if you pan across, everybody is just in character, and Paula is just leaning forward very intently, even though she's getting bad news, and I'm just like sitting there like this, like so pissed off. And Paula and I, in real life, got into an argument because she ended up tipping her a lot. I was like, why are you tipping her? She was like, I can do whatever I want with my money. So, everything is copy.
And Emily really held her own amongst a lot of that, because she's a non-actor, right? She's a writer.
Right, Emily Spivey.
That?
Yeah, well, she did, yes, the great Emily Spivey. She, the film was a hall of mirrors, so a few weeks before we shot, she called me, and she wrote the script, and she called me and said, like, I don't think I can play Jenny. I just think I'm not going to be good enough. I haven't been on screen in a while, even though she's a very good performer. Yeah. And I just kind of said, okay. And I just ignored her. I just said, okay.
Just kept sending her call times.
Yeah, we're going to get on that. Yes, we'll take a look at that. And then I just ignored her calls until, but just like in the film, she was so much fun to work with, because she was just kind of a 3-point shooter. She just waited for her moment, and she wrote the character, and she wrote it for herself. So she was. I think she's a really great find in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also fun because you feel like you know everyone, and then you see this whole other side of them, and there's the extra pleasure of knowing you're all friends in real life and feeling like we have a little window into this fun friendship. But were there any challenges in directing your friends and also directing yourself?
Yeah, I don't love directing myself, to be honest, because I want so badly to not be. I want every time especially in this first experience, I wanted to be behind the camera much more than I wanted to be in front of it.
Yeah.
So every time I was in front of it, I wanted to be back there.
Yeah.
Would you watch a take back, or how would you?
Rarely. I had my producer, Morgan Sackett, who's an amazing producer, and we worked together on Parks and Rec, and I really trust him in terms of evaluating performance, and occasionally I don't really love watching playback as an actor. As a director, I love it, but but the back and forth wasn't my favorite. I know some people really like it, or I don't know, they tolerate it, but I wanted to just be in my own clothes behind the camera. But as far as directing my friends, they happen to be so funny and so talented that it was really quite easy. The only thing is that we're all so used to collaborating in real time that it really was about time management. It was like making sure that we made the day, and that we didn't spend, that we could move on, really. So it was kind of what Abby does in the movie, just gently, without people knowing, pushing them into a room, and then having them sit down, and they're like, how do we get here? And then I just go, action. Yeah.
And what about playing drunk? That's always such a big challenging thing, and everyone sort of did it. I mean, Maya is always so
We had
fun
a chart. We had a chart of how many drinks everybody had had in each scene. That was really helpful, because I would go up to someone and say, just a reminder, like, you've only had one drink at this point. Or just a gentle whisper of like, you're 5 glasses in now.
Because that's a real challenge when you watch movies like this, and certain actors will want to just play as drunk as possible all the time, and then to really pull it back so that when you piece it all together, it's not like, oh my God, somebody's drunk the entire time.
No, I know. We also as a group really love playing hungover. I think that I love people that are hungover. That hangover scene was much longer. We cut it way down because it was too slow. I mean, we loved it, but we were like, oh yeah, this is so slow. But we went back to the coffee machine like 5 times in the first cut and couldn't work it. And but yeah, I think it takes a certain kind of skill to play drunk well. It's true. You have to really, don't you think? I mean, there's the classic amazing versions, like, there's like With Nail and I, which is like the professional drunk. But comedically, sometimes if someone just puts a hat on a hat, it all falls apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you say to actors who are playing drunk?
I think the best advice I got was to play like you're trying to pretend you're not drunk.
Yeah.
And then the more you try to be sober, the more drunk you seem, because the ones who sort of just take on the act of acting drunk, it feels like a performance, but once they start really trying to focus and trying to talk to you, but with the information that they're drunk, it ends up looking more drunk.
Yeah. And some people are really happy, some people get really chatty,
Right.
some people get very angry.
Yeah.
I really like people that get really sarcastic, very who think everything is stupid. My joke was like, if you really want to play drunk, your character should just leave. Because that's really what happens. Where did she go? She left. You don't stay.
Did anything strike too close to home for them? Like, was there anything where you were?
No,
where
we in this our first iteration of the script we shared with everyone. Again, very unorthodox, but because we wanted not only to get everybody's feedback about. Are you ready for some feedback? Everybody's feedback about their character, and if we could, find ways to make it funnier. But also, we were treading some tricky waters, even though there's nothing necessarily autobiographical. Everybody's playing some kind of version of themselves on some kind of trip. And so there really wasn't anything that anybody flagged, or I think they felt like they were in good hands with Liz and Emily.
And you
I think
can't
they
say
knew that I
because
wouldn't.
It sounds braggy, but
Yeah.
it is like a big testament to you that you created the space where everybody felt so safe putting themselves out there.
That's nice. I hope so. I think one of the scenes I really love in the film that I think is quite nice, but I find the reactions to it very interesting, is when Paula Pell's character Val's at the art museum, and she's kind of attempting to open herself up to this young woman played by the great Maya Erskine. And it's a strange scene because sometimes it gets some laughs, even though I think it's very tender and vulnerable. And it was an interesting scene to shoot because Paula herself wanted very badly to joke during that scene, and to cut the tension. And I mean, she can joke. She can make anything extremely funny. So I kept making her not do it, and the tension of her not joking was really bothering her.
It makes you wonder.
And it was great because it was making her uncomfortable. And it was causing, and Maya, I said to Maya, like, whatever you do, you know, you have to just really be very confusing in how you're operating. You have to really be charming and seductive, and then kind of cold and hot, and just feel free to come and go emotionally with her as much as you want. And so I think Paula didn't get any relief or release in being funny in that scene. And I know that sounds strange, but for people that are used to doing comedies and stuff, if you don't get a laugh or something, you just don't know if you did a good job. You know, you're just kind of waiting in this void. And so I thought that's what made the scene kind of interesting because of that.
What about the eternal pause before answering the question? What was the thinking, and how did you decide?
That was in the script. When we were writing the script, I did pitch to Emily and Liz. I said, can she wait a crazy amount of time? And then I said, how wonderful, at a certain age, you earn the right to think in real time about whether or not you're going to sleep with someone, and if they're man enough, they can handle the pause. So, you know, I don't think it was the first time that a character like Devin had to wait. But he was fine waiting. I love Jason in that scene. Just totally
he leans against the door and kind of takes his
We
moment.
tried to not to, but we did. We tried to do like a reverse ode to Mrs. Robinson. So he's in the scene when he's leaning against the door. We shot it. We tried like a version of his arm kind of being like Anne Bancroft's leg. Because I thought that would be a funny. But he just stood at the door forever and shifted his body weight just enough to get that yes at the end. Every woman should take that long. Yeah, that was fun. And it was really fun on set because we just counted out 30 seconds every time. 30 seconds of anything is a long time.
Yes. What about, so that, just also a sidebar, what happened to the Fran Drescher painting? Do you have it? Who kept it?
I don't have it. What do I have from that film? No, I took no Fran Drescher with me. But we did have some really fun, you know, any comedy scene about art is, yes. You know, I know it's low-hanging fruit, but it's really fun. And it's really fun to have, because everything is art, right? And then it isn't. So it's like, you know, we had tin-foil giant teddy bears, and it was like, well, this is cool / ridiculous, you know? And then, you know, Jeff Koons sells his sculpture for, you know, and it's like, well, this is art. It's gorgeous. And it's also like, if you had a giant metal bunny thing in this scene, that you'd also be like, ugh, ridiculous. You know, I like that how close they live. But Keith Cunningham, our production designer, did an amazing job. That was a lot of fun for him, is making all that art.
There's always that scene in a movie where nobody or the audience might not know how much work or what went into it, that when you watch it as a director, you're like, I'm really proud that actually all happened and came together, because it was this close to not happening. But what are the scenes in this that you're just, that look easy
Nisha,
to us?
Nisha, you're such a good asker. I know what you mean. Okay, let me think about that. That's a great question. Well, I think
the art show is a good example of
the
it
art
too.
show is a good example. We shot 3 days in that gallery, and we cut almost everything out of it. Yeah. So, because we had scenes where all the women were looking at the art and interacting with it. We had like young people talking about the art we had a joke where, you know, Maya's character and Paula were like looking at a dollar bill on the floor and just being like, whoa, yeah. It's just, it's about commerce. I get, no, it's about the economy. You know, and a guy just comes and picks up the dollar and puts it stupid stuff like that. Yeah, we shot a lot of, so that was a really fun scene. Also, what was fun about that is, you know, we were around, it was like, oh, look at all these young people. You know, we had all these young extras who were told to dress in power neutrals and all these like beautiful, you know, fresh-faced, fluid people who are the future, and as they should be. And so that was fun to be around them. So that was a great couple of days.
You had another scene that you were thinking about. I was just, when I watched the art scene, I was thinking, oh my God, the director had to create all of the, like, answer the questions about what is the art? Who is the art about? What what do the installations look like? Where do it, you know, what kind of coffee cups? Do you want big coffee cups? It's just so many.
There was one little moment that I enjoyed just because it happened in real time, and we were on that hill doing all those stunts for a couple of days, and
oh my God, you were doing those stunts for days?
We shot on that hill for 4 days.
Oh my God.
And you know, those were a lot of steps. Those are a lot of steps. That was like, you know, you go home and be like 17,000 steps. And we had 6 amazing stunt women who don't get a chance to really work with each other a lot. And what was really funny is when they were done with the hill, they stayed for the weekend and they had a wine country weekend. And it was well earned because they rolled down the hill many times. But there's a scene where Anna's character gives a very long speech up on the top of the hill about how she's feeling about her life. And we were just improvising down at the bottom of the hill because we were down there when we were shooting, and we were going, we can't hear you, because we couldn't hear her. And so we were just going, we can't. And the bit became, we're so sorry, we can't hear you, when she was having her big speech. And when in the editing, we just cut almost all of Anna's speech.
Oh my God.
Which, you know, she took well, because it was so much funnier to us for her to start, you know, right? Because for us to fill in her speech, and for us to be like, you know, it's like shouting into the wind. Yes. I
like how you subverted all the normal, like, we're waiting for you to take drugs and you never take drugs.
Yeah, I like that too. That was a big, you know, in the beginning, everyone, when we did some focus groups, everyone was like, the only thing I was wondering is why they didn't take the Molly. I was like, because we know what the next day would have been like. That's the gift of being in your mid-40s. And also, I wasn't in the mood to do another drug trip moment. There have been so many and so done so well, and half of them have been done by the women in the film. And so I thought, wouldn't it be fun to you know, fuck the loaded gun premise in Act 1 and never take the drugs.
Because in Anna's speech, where I was like, oh, here comes the big heartfelt epiphany, and you just cut right away from it.
I love cutting. I love editing. I love that process very much. I love taking stuff away. I think that I'm used to it a lot at SNL. We would have to cut stuff constantly, including our whole scene. And if not getting precious about that, I love that idea of something starting to work and you're like, what if we took it all out? I love that moment. Because I don't know, it's very freeing, because if you get too in love with something, you're in trouble. Yeah. I think you start falling in love with your stuff or your joke, or you're just thinking it's so great, and it just never quite gets back to the place you thought it would be. So, I enjoy. I mean, everything is different, but like a 3-hour comedy is tough. I think it is. I don't know.
Yes.
No? Am I wrong? Have you seen a good one lately? Yeah.
Do you have the secret to making those fun runs in improv? Because sometimes I find on set we'll be like, oh my God, this is so funny, and we're doing this take and another one, and then you get in that editing room and you almost always go back to what was scripted and use that. Yeah,
I think there's a fine line between feeling like I know as an actor, there's a fine line between feeling like you have freedom to try something and then thinking like, okay, we've got it, like we want to move on. You know, I always liked it when a director knew that they had it. But the women that are in this film are so experienced, frankly, in comedy that they know too. So they weren't certainly, they would try stuff if they wanted to, but they also kind of felt, you know, it was interesting. It's just a bunch of people who weren't, didn't have a lot to prove.
Yeah.
And that can be really nice. And sometimes when you're shooting a comedy, you know, people really want to score.
Yeah.
And that can be great. And then also it can be really exhausting.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of like a puppy. Like sometimes I'm sure you do this too, where you're like, let's improvise, and you know you don't even need it. You just need the puppy to run around so that they can feel like they exercise. And then other times they do, you know, someone does something that's super interesting, and you think, oh, okay, hold on, let's go back and, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Right now I'm in a phase where I'm not as interested in seeing how improvisational things are on screen, because I think we've just gone through a phase where we've seen so much of that.
Yes.
That now I see it. Now it takes me out
Yeah.
of the film, because I can see them having stood there for a while to get to their joke.
Right.
And yeah, I wanted to kind of take the pressure off that and see how it felt. If it felt any more real or grounded, because jokes, as we say in real life, sometimes score, they sometimes don't. So, like, just as evidenced by this talk today.
Can you talk about the music a tiny bit? I know
Sure.
we only
The
have
music
one.
was done by Wendy and Lisa from Prince and the Revolution.
And your choice of songs, I mean, I know you were
Yeah.
a great dancer of hip hop and a lover of hip hop, and just that, you know, it was so joyful to watch. But I felt this pain of, oh, Amy had to narrow down her choices to only like 10 songs or
I
something.
know.
How did
Well,
you?
the Pretenders are expensive.
Yes.
As they should be. As they should be. Yeah, we had a bunch of different options in there, and we kind of wanted to keep it very, not too, for lack of a better word, like not too cool, if that makes any sense. You know, we wanted, but I wanted it, Wendy and Lisa nicely, incredibly let us re-record that Prince song at the end, and we all got to go in and sing that, which was really fun. Yeah, and because we speak about him in the hot tub, may he rest in peace. But it was really fun thinking about what stuff we would listen to, and there was just some real gems in there that, you know, the Xanadu soundtrack alone is such a
was
good one.
amazing.
Put that on your drive home. It's really good. But we did have some other music that we lost, that we cut, and then when you know this, when you're editing a scene and you're moving music around, I won't name any names, but you really realize how bad a song is.
Yes.
You're like, this song sucks. Sometimes you're like, man, this is a bad song.
It's interesting because sometimes the songs that are terrible in real life are perfect for the movie because they're repetitive. And
Totally.
you zone
Well, we
out on
wanted
it and
very
you can-
nostalgic, like pops of stuff. And Wendy and Lisa, when we were doing the score, we really wanted, things to feel. Comedies are very tough to score.
Yeah.
Because you can just err on the side of real goofy, or you can flatten everything out with the music.
How did you? What's the trick to scoring a comedy?
I don't know yet. I'm still learning, because I think that they were amazing at figuring out how to balance that. But we worked together a lot to try to figure that out. It was one of the harder things because there's these big, broad scenes and then these very small scenes, and how do you go in and out of those? And also, I don't love wall-to-wall music. Yeah. Because I don't know, I got a little used to not depending on that in my TV experience. So it was kind of a struggle. Sometimes I don't know, to be continued. What do you think?
I mean, God, it is that tricky thing where I always just go for scoring the emotional arc and leave the comedy alone. Like I just sort of go for, let's just hit all of the, romantic beats or
Yeah.
the emotional beats, and then kind of let the comedy, unless it's falling very flat, and then I'll ask the composer to help land the joke or something. But it's
Yeah.
tricky because once you get into doing that, then you feel it when you take it away, and then sometimes it's better to just cut out the joke that didn't land.
Yeah.
And not use anything to try to make it work.
I know I would have these I would listen to the score without any sound to see if it sounded like a funny movie, which is what I was trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, when a movie's on at night and you can tell it's a comedy.
Yes, you don't want that.
Yeah, and you can hear it. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just that was. And so I was like, does it sound funny? Like, and when I would hear something that, maybe that sounds too fun. I don't know. But I think that's why comedy is very complicated, because unlike drama, it really asks you to take this ride in a way that, you know, most dramatic features don't also ask you to laugh very rarely.
It's true.
They don't, the elevator doesn't go up as high. Mm-hmm. So you can stay in this space. And then if you do, you know, it's like this explosion.
Yeah. I love how you put that, the elevator. And so I know we're out of time, but can you leave us with the one scene that didn't make it in that you wish
sure.
had?
Wow. You asked such good questions, Nisha. One scene that didn't make it in. Well, I did talk about the art scene. There was a couple of art scene things, and there was a scene where I'm in a grocery store and Brad Pitt comes in and he's like, hey, what are you doing later? And I'm like, I have to buy these groceries. I can't talk to you right now. And it just didn't work because, you know, why would he he was playing himself. Why would he be in Napa? Why would he ask me? It was like, it wasn't working. So we cut that. Yeah, we cut that. He actually, to be fair, he didn't know he was being filmed. So it was good for everybody that we asked him.
That just opened up 100 more questions, but we have to leave it all to the mystery.
That didn't really happen. I'm sorry to say. No, I'm trying to think of stuff that we lost. I don't know. Let's leave it at that. That's better than anything I could. That's better than anything I could have honestly answered for you.
Many more movies from you, Amy.
Thank you guys very much for coming out on such a day. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. If you'd like to hear more, you can find past episodes of The Director's Cut wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure to subscribe, and please take a moment to rate and review us. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can help fellow cinephiles find the show. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America. Music is by Dan Wally.